So Anna, what can you reallocate funding from?
So this year, because of the registration notice, you can reallocate to 4 different kinds of projects. Permanent supportive housing for people experiencing chronic homelessness. The second is rapid rehousing for people fleeing domestic violence, leaving emergency shelter, or living on the streets. Either the permanent supportive housing or rapid rehousing can be for individuals or families or unaccompanied youth. The third project type you can reallocate to is a dedicated HMIS. And finally, the fourth is supportive services only for coordinated entry or coordinated assessment projects.
So if I already have all of those things in my application, do I need to reallocate?
Yeah, so that's a common question that we get a lot. I think it's a misconception that you can't reallocate from permanent housing projects. You can. You can also reallocate in whole or in part from a project. So if you have a permanent housing project that's consistently returning money to HUD, you might want to consider reallocation. So another reason you might want to consider reallocating is if you have low performing permanent housing projects. So say you have 2 permanent supportive housing projects serving chronically homeless folks, but one is much more cost effective than the other, you might want to reallocate from one to the other. It's important to make sure that that these projects serve similar subpopulations, because you don't want to penalize projects who serve higher barrier folks. And in order to evaluate this, you might want to ask all of your projects in your continuum of care to submit complete budgets so you can evaluate their cost effectiveness.
And another way you can evaluate programs is by looking at the cost per positive outcome, and that can be a great way of tying in cost effectiveness along with performance. So what else can you reallocate from?
So another reason you might want to reallocate permanent housing is if it better meets a need in your community. So, for example, if you have a lot of permanent supportive housing for families, but not a lot of chronically homeless families in your COC, you might want to reallocate that PSH to rapid rehousing for families, for example. And in order to do that, you might want to look at your point in time count and also the occupancy rates of your projects to see if there are projects that have empty beds or are having trouble filling their beds because they can't, that they're not serving the right subpopulation.